Hello everyone. How are you? My name is Oliver, and welcome to my panel. I am here to talk about the very fun topic of coming out as...
Hello everyone.
Oh, give me just a second.
My name is Oliver.
Sorry about that. I am here for the panel of coming out as LGBTQIA+. It's kind of a heavy topic, but it's something that I felt was important, something that I know I needed a lot of help and assurance with whenever I was going through that process. So that's why I was wanting to do this panel with you guys today. The time that I was leading up before I came out, I was watching a lot of videos of other people that were coming out and going through that process, and hearing them tell their story and their struggles, their ups and downs. It gave me an expectation of what I was going to face, and why it was important and how it helped them in the long run. With the inspiration for this is kind of funny. I was actually inspired by Lil Nas X's Montero "Call Me by Your Name" music video, and the reason why it inspired me to do this panel was, it actually had a lot of deep symbolism to it. All of the characters were played by him, and at the very beginning of the video, he says, "Welcome to Montero." And if you don't know, Montero is actually his real name. So when he says "Welcome to Montero," he's saying "Welcome to my mind." The first character that you're introduced to is him sitting under a tree, and a serpent comes out and is kind of chasing him around. And I believe that's his own temptation. And the more he runs from it, the more he's confronted by it. You'll notice that all there's a flower that looks like the serpent, the tree starts to look like the serpent, and the clouds look like the serpent, and even it eventually catches up to him. And once he finally succumbs to it, he's literally putting himself on trial. And so it's just a really good way to symbolize kind of what we go through whenever we're going through that process. And the guilt that you go through and how to face that. So, without further ado, I am going to go ahead and tell my story, and then after that, I'm going to open the floor for other people to either tell their own story or ask advice, or just generally kind of get some support or any kind of feedback. Obviously, I only have my own perspective, so if you're comfortable telling your own story, I would highly encourage that. But with that, y'all go ahead and tell my story. Mine is not one that I remember as particularly positive, but what makes it worth it is what was waiting for me on the other side. The process of it was not fun for me, but who I am after I came out, and being able to accept myself is what made it worth it in the long run. So I was 23 years old before I could even accept to myself that I was gay. I kind of call it coming out to myself. And that was a long time to build up repression. When I was 23, I was living alone at the time, and I had 2 weeks of vacation saved up for my job, and this was going right into a 2-week Christmas break, because the job I was in education, so we had a Christmas break. So that was a whole month to myself to just sit alone. That was a lot of time to sit and reflect and think about what I wanted from my life. And that was kind of when I finally realized that I couldn't keep living the expectation that other people had for me. I had to live who I really was, and it was just kind of a turning point where I knew I couldn't keep living that way. So that night where I finally accepted that I was going to come out as gay, I texted one of my friends, and I just said, "Hey, can you come over?" And he immediately knew something was off. He didn't know what, but I didn't just text him out of the blue and ask him to come over. So he came over, and he found me crying, and I told him that I was gay, and he just looked at me and goes, "Huh, I was really sure you were straight." And it was interesting. And then we sat and we talked a little while, and that was it. And we moved on, and we were still friends like nothing ever happened. And that's something that I've come to appreciate over time, because that fear of people treating you differently after you tell them who you are, or whether you're gay or bi or trans or whatever, there's always that fear that they're going to treat you differently or harshly. And the fact that I was able to tell one of my best friends that, and he just kind of accepted it, and it didn't change our friendship at all, was really impactful, and probably gave me a lot of encouragement going forward. A little while after that, we told our other friend, who's actually watching me right now. His name's Virus. And what was funny is when we told him, he just responded, "I know." And that was not an answer that I was prepared for, because I thought I hit it really well, and he saw straight through it. So that was a lot of fun. So Virus, hi, thank you. That was a fun moment. And so that started the process of me telling all of my friends. And that was a really transformative time for me, because that was me learning to be able to tell people who I am, and also learning who I am at the same time. Because, I had spent so much time trying to model myself after other people's expectations that, I hadn't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about how I wanted to act in front of others. But that process of telling all of my friends, one of the things that I found interesting is some of the friends that I thought would accept me ended up not, and that some that I thought wouldn't accept me did. And that fear of people treating you differently, and when you're going through that process of telling all of your friends, the pain of losing a friend because you've told them who you are, it hurts, and there's not a whole lot to make that feel better. But knowing who your friends are, and knowing which of your friends will accept you for who you are, no matter what, and just accept you for being you, it definitely makes that process a lot easier. And so that was one of the main things that I wanted to stress is, it's sometimes there are people that won't accept you for who you are, but knowing who your real friends are, and we talk about chosen family quite a lot. That really it's you find out who really is important to you, and that really helps a lot. So it was about 2 years before I told my family that I was gay. I actually had I had a boyfriend probably within a few months of coming out to my friends. And within a few months of that, he actually moved in with me. And so for 2 years, I was out to all of my friends. I was learning to accept myself, and I was going through that transformation. I was getting rid of a lot of internalized homophobia, and it was a very transformative process. But at the same time, I still had to go in front of my family and pretend like my life was exactly the same as it was 2 years ago. And so that was it was incredibly stressful and incredibly difficult, and a lot of dodging questions, as I'm sure a lot of you have experienced at Thanksgiving and things like that. So, that was definitely a difficult time, because I was learning to accept who I was, but at the same time, I had to hold on to enough of that to be able to put that mask on in front of my family. But when I was really waiting for a couple of life events to happen before I told my family, and when those finally came and went, I had to start telling my family. And the first one that I told was my mother, and I left her a note in her mailbox. She didn't take it well. She is religious, and when it comes to the religious side of this, I'm sure there are people that will disagree with her opinions on this, but that just to tell you on how she took it, for her, it was incredibly difficult because she does not believe that you can be gay and be a Christian. And so to her, I was basically telling her that after she died, she was never going to see me again. And that's something that she still struggles with. And I've been out for probably, for her, I've been out for about 3 years. She's slowly learning to accept that this is a reality. She doesn't like it, but my fiance comes around to family gatherings, and she treats him very well and has given him Christmas gifts. But it's still very difficult for her. The next person I told was my sister, and she kind of she had her reservations about it, but for the most part, she treated me like her brother, just the same, which is about as much as I could ask for. And then the last hurdle that I had was telling my dad, which is, as you can imagine, probably the most difficult. He never truly accepted it. He also did not talk to me for probably a couple of months after I told him. And the first time that we spoke after I told him was over the phone, and it was a very intense phone call. My fiance was listening to it with me, and he was very adamant that I didn't talk about myself being gay around him or any part of my personal life that had to do with me being gay. He did not want to hear about it. And he said that, if I ever got married, that I was going to have to take my ring off around him. And, the only thing that I was thinking at the time was that, I'm going to, let him go through this. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to take it well. And, he said that he still wanted to be a part of my life. And I just thought, I'll just play the game for a little while and see how that goes. But unfortunately, that never really progressed. That was literally how life was and how it was going to be, and that was just kind of who he is. And that relationship unfortunately never recovered. So we don't talk to this day. But that was the last major hurdle to me coming out to my family. And as much as that still hurts, the thing that makes it all worth it, and the reason why I can accept losing friends or losing a relationship with my own dad, is that I learned to be able to accept myself for who I am and know that other people will accept me for it. I don't have to lie all the time to my family. They know who I am. And in the situation with my dad, I can't lie to protect his feelings. He does not mean because of that. That's his choice, and I can't take that choice from him. So it hurts, but being able to know that you are who you are and people accept you for that, and you have your family and that they love you for it, is wholly transformative. And there's the old RuPaul cliche of, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? And that's really something that I've learned to appreciate, is that I can look at myself and love myself, and in turn I can love others as well. Because like I said earlier, I had a lot of internalized homophobia, and that led to homophobia against other people as well, because I could see them being who they wanted to be, and that didn't sit well with me. I thought they should act a certain way, and I thought all gay people should act masculine, and that was that. So it transformed me, and it made me a better person. Beyond that, I never thought that I would be able to open up as being a furry. And here I am sitting in front of you guys today with however many are you watching right now. Let me look. 174 people watching. So I'm sitting in front of you guys telling my story about how I'm coming out as gay and helping other people. And I'm actually an artist for AnthroExpo, and I got to do art for Cooper Tom, who's literally my favorite furry. So, how much better my life got in just the few years afterwards of telling people that I was gay, I wouldn't be here where I am without that. And I also wouldn't be here today without my fiance. who's watching right now as well. He was the first boyfriend I ever had. So to him, thank you, and I appreciate you for putting up with me. But my final thought on this, and the biggest fear that I had throughout the whole process, was don't let your fear of what other people will think of you prevent you from telling them who you are. There's that massive fear of acceptance, and it's incredibly difficult to get over. But, living a lie all the time is taxing, and it's difficult to get over. And you really have to learn to accept yourself for who you are. And if the only thing holding you back is worrying what other people will think of you, then don't let that be your fear, because I promise you that there will be people that accept you for who you are, no matter what. And I think this fandom is a really good example of that. So with that, I'm going to open the floor. This is if you would like to tell your own experience, or if you would like to ask a certain situation or how to come out or anything like that, feel free to chime in. And Absol's going to be taking the cue. So if you guys want to chime in, just hop in. Apologize for the awkward silence here. I'm actually not sure how he's running this. Apologize for the awkward silence here. I'm actually not sure how he's running this. Okay, let me see if I can view the queue here. So, Mr. Meow, it looks like you're...
Okay, we have invited Mr. Meow to speak. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like that they dropped back out, so we can take another request if anyone would like to speak.
Does anyone have any questions on how to come out to their family, or have any kind of questions about how to face that in like the workplace or anything like that? That's really where I felt I needed the most help. I felt I needed the most help. Let me check Twitch chat.
Okay, looks like we have Bramble Juice ready to speak now.
Okay.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I can't hear either of you. Hold on.
I just wanted to pop in and say we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Do I have to like watch through the stream
No, you
to
don't
hear
have
them?
to. You can watch through. They're actually muted right now. But you can watch through the stream to hear them, or you can be in here. Anything is fine.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know how they have this set up. I guess I'll just tell my story. I'm a 19-year-old trans woman, and I've actually technically come out, I guess, several times now. I've come out at least 3 or 4 times to different groups of people, and like a lot of trans people, I initially came out as gay, and that was that went a lot better than coming out as trans, because a lot more people understood, and they you know, they're more ready to accept that. And growing up, I knew that my mom would be okay with, me being whoever I was. And the only person I was really worried about was my dad, because I knew he had a history of being homophobic. But something that really surprised me was that when I came out, he was fully accepting of me, which I'm really lucky for. I couldn't have asked for a better reaction from him. He just basically told me, I still love you for who you are, and don't do anything crazy. Which I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I think it was a good thing. So I'm glad that my family accepted me at that point in my life, because that was it was still really hard for me, even though I didn't really understand who I was at that point. Because later on in life, I kind of figured some things out, and I think just about a year ago, I came out to my parents and my brother as trans. And a year before that, actually, I came out to my at the time boyfriend, who, that's a long story. He was initially supportive, but he ended up breaking up with me, and it was just a whole mess. And he was very transphobic, just to say the least. So it's just what am I trying to say here? When I came out to my parents, it was very emotional for me, because when I came out as gay, it was really not a hard thing for me to do. It was very simple, just, hey, I think I might be gay, and we went through the standard motions that you kind of think of when you think about coming out to someone. But coming out as trans, it was a very different experience, because for one, it was a very emotional experience. I broke down when I told my mom and my dad, and I also broke down when I told my brother and my boyfriend. But this was all well before I started transitioning, of course. And initially, when people heard that I was trans, and I asked them to use, to try to use different pronouns for me to see if it would help me, people didn't catch on. They didn't understand. And it was really hard, because I had to keep reminding them. And eventually I just kind of gave up, and I ended up having to come out a second time. And that was more recently. I came out a second time, and then I started transitioning, which that was about 3 months ago now. And I've been living a much better life now, and I'm a lot happier. I'm still seeing, changes, and feeling a lot happier in my own body. But it's definitely a long process coming out as trans, because it has to do with your, how people perceive you on a really deep level compared to, how sexuality works. So even still, I have a lot of people that I haven't come out to. At work, I still get dead named, and I get misgendered, because I haven't had the strength to come out to them yet. And honestly, that might either cost me my job, I might have to quit, or I might just, have to tough up and, face my fears and come out to them. But it's a very long process, and you can really never know who's going to accept you and who won't. But the main thing is that if coming out as trans, if you're certain that you want to live as the opposite gender, or if you want to identify as any gender that makes you happy, then I think absolutely do it if it's safe and come out. I have been in like a much better headspace ever since I came out to my family and all that. So yeah, I think that's basically all I wanted to say. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Bramble. Honestly,
The others talk if they have anything to chip in.
I think it might be a little bit weird here because I'm on Twitch audio and Cass is going through Discord. But
if any of you would like to share your story, or if you would like to be a part of this conversation, please feel free to put in a request in Discord. In our audience, there is a little bit of a delay between Discord and the Twitch stream. We understand that, not a problem. What I'd recommend is just mute your Twitch stream for now if you are going to talk, and it'll kind of keep it from being too confusing. So yeah, if you would like to speak or if you have anything to say, please feel free to put in a request and we'll bring you up here on stage. And
well, I opened Discord on my phone. It kicked me out, so I just had to rejoin. So sorry about that.
okay, we have Winston. We're going to bring Winston up on stage.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you. You're good to go.
Okay, cool. This is a little nervous. I've never spoken on a stream before. Yeah, my name is Winston. I'm 23 and I'm gay. I've been gay for about 5 years now. Or actually, I think it's about 6 because I realized I was gay around the time I turned 18. I was kind of in a similar boat as Bramble Juice because I was raised in a religious home and I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about being gay. When I first started having thoughts about possibly being gay, I just really wasn't sure about it. I wasn't sure if it was really a good or bad thing. And when I went off to college, just a couple weeks after I first started having those thoughts, I didn't really know what information I should know about that. If there was something I needed to know about being gay. But the most important thing was that I just didn't know if I wanted to be gay, and I didn't know if it was right according to my religion that I'd grown up with my entire life. I confided in my roommate a little, and I think he was just as surprised as I was to hear that I could possibly be gay. But after just talking to one person, I think I felt a lot better about being gay. But then of course it'd be the issues of so let's see, I believe it was about 1 or 2 years later, it was a summer, and I don't exactly remember how it happened, but the first person I came out to was my mom. My mom at the time, she lived in another state because my parents were divorced. They had been for several years. But when I came out to her about that, she was very supportive. And so my coming out process was off to a great start. Um, and but after I came out to my mom, and shortly after I came out to my sisters, I started to get a lot more worried because I would have to come out to my dad and my stepmother. And I knew how religious they were. So it was a lot more nerve-wracking. And I actually went over with my mom, like, what my plan was going to be for coming out. And yeah, I told her that I was going to, like, come out on my birthday, which was coming up in a couple weeks. And well, she told me that probably wasn't the right thing to do because she knew my dad just as much as I did, if not more. And she had the same assumptions as me that he and my stepmom were not. So she said, like, rather than just drop on that day, she said that I should, like, try writing an email and send it out to them like a week in advance, before I came home from my summer job that I was working at the time. So that's what I did. And I kind of just poured out my heart into that email that I wrote. I just started off with, I know that you're probably not going to take this well, and I'm aware of that, but I feel that you should know that I am gay. And yeah, I basically told them literally everything about my gay life up to that point. I told them about, like, when I started realizing I was gay and the things that I had experienced that basically confirmed me being gay, including the fact that for a few months prior to this coming out. But I told them a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff that I still could have hidden from them, but my thought process was that if I did not tell them everything, then they wouldn't even believe me about being gay. Like, I feel like that's how religious they were, is that if I told them that I was gay without providing enough proof, then they wouldn't even believe me. They'd just throw it off to the side or something. But anyway, I sent out that email, and well, I got responses from I got a response from my stepmom, who said she would need some time to think over it, but she assured me that she loved me no matter what. And she said that talk about it, but loved me because they weren't going to love me anymore after I came out. And my dad, again, like Bramble Juice, that was the scariest part for me because, well, my dad is a very strict person, and he's not always the best at controlling his anger either. And he didn't even respond to my email, so that just scared the hell out of me, leading up to the talk that we were going to have. But anyway, after a week had passed and I came back home, they sat down with me and basically told me they did not accept me for being gay. They had a pretty long talk with me about it, about how they felt about it, and how they felt that it was wrong. according to my religion. They also thought that I could not be a Christian and also be gay. And honestly, that really hurt. It really hurt. It's still something that I really do not look back on with any sort of happy feeling. Like I was happy that I was coming out and not being scared of hiding it anymore. But on the other hand, when I found out their reaction, I felt like I just had to go back into hiding again, because not only did they not accept my sexuality, they basically told me they wanted me to be straight, and they wanted me to break up with my boyfriend, and they wanted me to get help. And I feel like that I think they not only did they just not think homosexuality was a Christian thing, like you couldn't be Christian and be gay at the same time, but I think they also see it as a disease. Some of the things they said during our talk, it really caused me to have the impression that all of a sudden they saw me as a sex-crazed freak. One of the things they asked me regarding the upcoming college year, they said to me, "Do you know why boys and girls are split in the dorms?" And the answer is pretty obvious, is, so that there aren't any, one of the reasons is that so there aren't any sexual relations going on in those dorms. And well, they basically said to me, well, if you're gay, then how can we trust you not to engage in sex with your roommate or in the dorm? Fight against that point. I, to my own horn, but I see myself as a pretty respectable human being. I do my best to respect other people, respect their privacy, and especially if I'm rooming with them, I make sure to live to as many of their standards as possible by, just respecting them and being a decent human being. And of course, part of that means I'm not going to, actively seek sex with them. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially since I already have a boyfriend and I gotta remain faithful to him. But they just didn't see that. They didn't see that point. They didn't really see the point I was trying to make with my arguments. So as of right now, I'm basically still in hiding from them. I came out to them when I was 19 years old, and now I'm going to be 24 this summer, so that's going to be like 5 years of hiding from them. Like I'm definitely going to have to come out to them at some point. And one of the main reasons I haven't done that is because they're the only reasons I can afford college on a financial level. So basically, if I come out again before I graduate, I basically have to drop out of college. There's a lot of other personal circumstances that prevent me from coming out to them again. I'm really glad that I do have some of my family that supports me, like my mom and my sisters and my stepbrother. But I mean, it's just my father and my stepmother that cause the most issues with this. I mean, if it weren't for them, my life would be just so much easier. But as of right now, my homosexuality just puts me in a very rough spot where I can basically act just about as freely as I want when I'm around the rest of my family, but whenever I get on the phone with my dad or my stepmom, I have to pull this thick mask over my face and hide a significant part of who I am. I think I've been rambling a bit, but that's basically everything that I've been going through on my end.
Okay, be ready for a verbal delay. Oliver is going to respond.
So one of the things that he mentioned was that his family was throwing a lot of reasoning of why they disagreed with it and why they thought it was wrong. And my experience with that is that you honestly just have to be firm and say that, I am who I am, and, I respect that you have your own beliefs, but that's not what I believe. It's very rough and it's not fun. And those kind of conversations, I still have those with my mom to this day. We've, like I said, that relationship did recover, but, there are times where she wants to, ask me scriptural questions and try to throw that at me and try to tell me why she thinks it was wrong. And, it's difficult, but you really kind of have to stand your ground when it comes to those, when it comes to those kind of things. Especially for me, not being religious, I'm not coming from the perspective of, I believe that you in Christianity at all. And so when she brings scripture to me, I just have to say, I don't believe that. And, I'm not saying that you have to believe a certain way either, but it's something that you really have to, at a certain point, be able to not play that game, because some of those people are very good at asking manipulative questions. And so, really, when it comes to that, you just say, this is who I am, and, you're going to have to learn to accept that. And I can certainly, I know what you're feeling as well with having to put that mask back on after, being free and open with certain people. So that's something I can certainly appreciate. I am going to go ahead and take some questions from Twitch. If you guys have any questions, you can ask those now. I've been seeing a lot of commentary scrolling through, yeah. Oh, another point was that, whenever they try to ask you about your personal life, your answer 100% of the time is, that's none of your business. If you're in college, you're probably an adult, and, obviously you need to act responsibly, but you're an adult and that's your life and your body, and you're going to do what you're going to do. And that's not something that they need to concern themselves with. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through here. I've seen a lot of commentary on Twitch. I'm going to see if there's been any specific questions in here. And I'm just kind of scrolling through those right now. And I do really appreciate you guys, as Cass just said. You guys have been really brave in sharing your own stories, and I do really appreciate that. And, like I said, there are people that look to these kinds of events and videos and things like that and use that as encouragement to be able to take that step themselves. So, anything that you guys say is going to be helpful for others. So I do really appreciate that. Did anybody have any questions that they wanted to ask me? I guess there's a lot of conversation on Twitch about whether or not you can be gay and be a Christian. That's honestly that's entirely on you on whether you believe that. I know I've expressed my personal feelings on the subject. what other people believe should not be your concern. So, I mean, if that is if you're a Christian, then, that is entirely your journey. And a lot of, I guess the theme of what we're talking about here is that you need to learn to accept who you are and not let other people try to dictate that for you, because there's always going to be somebody that disagrees with you. So, just make sure that you're not letting other people kind of bully you into thinking that you can't be a certain way, because you are who you are, and that's entirely up to you. Looks like Cass would like to share her experience, so I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and let her speak.
So I've been given permission to speak. So thank you, Oliver and Absol. I'm super nervous right now, just because this is a topic that is very hard to talk about in general when it comes to, talking about this to the public, especially to a chat that has 107 and who knows how many just hanging out in VR chat. So, Oliver, you're gonna have to turn up my mic a bit, at least on your end, just because I'm really quiet, according to chat. I have myself turned up as much as possible. Okay, good, thank you. Sorry, I'm reading chat as it's coming in. Am I too loud? Oh no. Testing. Okay, cool. Cool, thank you. Sorry. But I appreciate you giving me the floor. I know I've kind of taken the stage a few times this convention, so sorry to steal it again. But it's very important to talk about these kinds of things, especially considering I'm actually the only person that's talked in here so far that is non-binary. I recently came out as non-binary last year, and it was a really weird experience for me, but honestly, it was a lot easier than talking about things like sexuality. And I think the difference between that and just my gender identity in general, when it comes to being non-binary, is, first of all, not a lot of people understand it. So there's people that will be like, oh, cool, and not really care. Like my parents pretty much were like, that's cool, but they don't really know what it is, and they don't bother to call me they or them, and they don't really flow with it. Or you can go to, let's say, Furry Twitter, and everybody's super accepting, and they love you for who you are. And I have the fortune of having a loving partner who accepts me for who I am. And I work from home, so I don't have to come out to any coworkers or anybody at school or anything like that. So I'm always at home, and my involvement's always in the fandom. But the thing for me is sexuality is different. Sexuality feels so much more personal. You're basically talking about what you're into, whether it be romantically or behind closed doors, and that's something that's very hard to talk about to others, because a lot of people have misconceptions, just like what Winston was saying. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to things like sexuality, whether you're gay or lesbian or bi or pan or polyamorous. Any of those as examples, just a lot of people have misconceptions. People have misconceptions even about trans folk as well. Like Ramble Juice was talking about, a lot of people don't understand, and they have lots of assumptions about how things go. With that being said, I guess I have news, and it's something that I've kind of kept inside for a while, and it's something that I've thought about for a while. I'm sure you can see a little bit on my icon, but the icon that Faulty Draws drew me has a non-binary flag and a pansexual flag, because I, for the longest time, thought I was bisexual and then pansexual because I was more open to any gender, whether than just a limited gender, because bisexual to me is a little more limited than pansexual. And to be honest, with sexualities and genders, what matters to you is what's important. So if you feel like you're non-binary, you're non-binary. There's no rules. There's no rule set to any of this. This is how you identify. So definitely don't assume that you're doing it wrong, because you're not. Self-exploration is terrifying, but it's also wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. It's a terrifying experience. It's just an experience, and you can make your experience. But moving on to my announcement, I noticed there's a pansexual flag in the collar of my icon, and well, weirdly enough, that's not true anymore. Recently, I've been on a self-discovery trip again. Just back to back now, just learning about myself, who I am, and it's been really hard. I recently came out to my partner for my new sexuality, and it was terrifying at first, because although I knew he would accept me, it was just scary, because what sexuality I am now, it can affect someone's relationship. It can ruin some things in a relationship that is especially intimate. And it's so hard for me to do this, but I've decided, to the almost 200 people watching this, that I'm going to be coming out right now. And I am proud to call myself asexual. Yup, pansexual out the door. Nope, gone. It's gone. I'm asexual. Sex to me is something that is just not it's hard. It's hard for me, because I'm not going to go into the details, because obviously we want to keep things safe for work, of course, but it's just been very hard to accept that kind of thing about myself, about why I feel the way I feel. And I think the hardest part is I really didn't want to be this, because I thought it was going to make things worse. I thought it was going to make things worse for me, worse for my relationship. And I was afraid that it would just, heck things up. But I have learned that I can love myself for who I am, and my partner loves me for who I am, and his love for me isn't changing. Is loving yourself, like Oliver was saying, and loving others, and having people love you. And like Oliver was saying earlier as well, having people accept you for who you are, regardless of whether they're blood related or not. Of course, with family, it's so hard to have a family member that just doesn't accept you, but you have to realize that they're not true family at that point. They don't care about you and your well-being at that point, and you don't deserve them. You deserve so much better, and that's why I love my friends so much, and I love the people that accept me for who I am, and the people that love me for who I am. But yes, I'm asexual, and it's so weird saying this out loud. Never imagined I would be saying this, but I'm proud. And I know there's a lot of people like me with very similar experiences as to why they got where they are. And I feel like I'm part of a family, and that's what matters. That's what truly matters, is everyone that's able to accept me and still love me. I think I'm just kind of repeating myself at this point. So I'm probably going to pass the mic back over to Absol and Oliver, whoever wants to talk, of course. But I want to say thank you all for taking this time to listen to me, and thank you, Oliver, for giving me the platform to share this, because I felt ready the moment I heard other people's experiences. I felt like this was the right time to do this. So Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cass. That was awesome. Congratulations to you. There's going to be a slight audio delay, and Oliver is going to wrap us up.
So, Cass, I just want to say thank you for taking the chance to be brave and to tell everyone. And this is really kind of what I was hoping for, is that, you know, this would encourage someone to be able to tell other people who they are, and realize that they can be accepted for that. And something that we've heard multiple times now is that it's okay to come out more than once. Bramble came out more than once for more than one reason. And I think there's a lot of fear of having to come out for a second time, because I think there's a fear of bothering people because they think you're just kind of, you can't figure it out for yourself. And you know what, even if that's the truth, that's totally fine. So I think it is very important to be able to accept yourself, no matter what. And if you have to come out more than once, then I think that's great. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. If you have any questions at all, feel free to message me in DM. I have my own experience with how to tell people certain things, so I would be glad to give you guys advice if you need it. Again, just learn to love yourself, and learn to love yourself for who you are, and it will legitimately make you a better person for it. So thank you so much. And I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I know it was a really heavy topic, but we have some fun music coming up next. So, hopefully we'll kind of move on and be more upbeat. I know Cass is going to be more upbeat now because they came out. I apologize. And so we're going to go into that. And thank you guys so much for chiming in. Bye.